Welcome to Wellness Warriors, a podcast addressing the root causes of illness and their natural solutions. And now your hosts of Wellness Warriors, Dr. Justin Lane and Michele Schroeder.
Well, hello, Dr. Justin Lane.
Hey, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And let's find out how Michele's doing today. How are you doing, Michele?
I'm doing awesome.
Oh, my gosh. I love it when you're doing awesome. That is so good. We've got a great podcast show for you guys today. One of the things I know you guys want to talk about is how to use mindset as medicine. Basically, how you can rewire your brain for healing. So who wants to jump into this pool to start? Anyone? Michele?
I'll jump in first.
Justin?
And
okay.
Yeah, I'll just second that because we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
80% of anything is your mindset. In this case, it's healing, but it could be for other goals that you have. And so that's probably the most important thing. When we work with clients, there's physiological pain, emotional pain and suffering, but somehow we don't think about our mental health or our mindset being part of that process, whether for good or worse. And so that's one of the first things that we're clear with people about is that your mindset, you set the intention, and knowing what you want and why you want it is the most important thing for our folks to focus on, and more specific, the better. So your brain really attaches to specificity, and you're more specific with what you want as a health outcome, the more likely you're going to get there. And then you have the emotional reasons for why you want to get there. Mm-hmm. Most people, though, don't know what they want. They know what they don't want. So in that case, start listing what you don't want. And in the process, you'll probably discover what you really want and focus on that. So that's all I'd say is that's probably one of the most important things when we start working with people is it's mind and body. And the body is definitely suffering and in pain, but it's the mind that tends to just be completely ignored, certainly in primary care other than a medication. But there's no real addressing your mindset, and that's for success, really, to be healthy.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So there's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I wanted to just add to that. There's been a lot of, people talk about how if something works, like a medication or something like that, it might be the placebo effect. It hasn't been studied extensively because if we got to know how powerful our mind was with healing, maybe pharmaceuticals would maybe not make as much money. Mm-hmm. So it's not where the dollars are going to study it, but there's enough evidence that, for example, in depression medicine, for example, there's a very small difference between the placebo and the actual medication and how effective it is. Mm-hmm. So I want to add that we can our cells actually respond to how we think. They actually respond to the environment. And there's this thing called epigenetics. Most of the time people say, well, it's my genes. I have a client right now, and he really thinks there's not a whole lot he can do because his genes are bad. But it's not really true. Our cells are constantly responding to the environment around them. So it's really all about environment, and that environment includes how we think, the thoughts we think. So I've mentioned in the podcast before that if you are chronically ill, and that's who we work with, you can pretty much be sure that the environment that your cells are living in is not set up for healing. And so one of the things we try to do is really help people change that. And part of that is changing thoughts and changing beliefs. And one belief I want to just throw out there right now that I want everybody to change is that if you've been diagnosed with something like an autoimmune disease, you've been told there's really nothing you can do, it's genetic, nothing you can do, and I just want you to open your mind to the belief that actually there is a lot you can do. So that's what I wanted to add to that. There's a lot more. I have an author that I like to read. Her name is Ellen Langer, and she talks about how she's a mindfulness researcher, and she talks about how we don't really know that something can't heal because we've never really proven it can't heal. So anytime that you believe that something is possible, you can discover the possibility by the way you think about it.
Yeah, and I would totally 100% agree with that. That's what our mentor says. What's wrong is always right, and so is what's right. It's always available to us. It's the questions that we ask ourselves, and there's usually some patterns that are not in our favor with the types of questions we ask ourselves, and they make us feel a certain way, and when we feel a certain way, we behave a certain way, and usually that's going to lead to illness or disease for some people.
So is this where, I think it's called neuroplasticity, is this where that comes into play?
Well, it definitely does come into play here, because we do know that we can change our neural pathways.
Mm-hmm.
We can change our brains. We can change the cellular health of our body.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the brain health, neuroplasticity. It means that anything that's ingrained in us, a belief, a habit, anything like that, is actually changeable.
Yeah, it's just conditioned. We've been conditioned a certain way, and we can break that down and recondition ourselves. But we're usually fixed on, it's this way, it's got to be this way, it's only this way. And you know, to your point about the placebo, 33% of all medicine is placebo. Regardless, medication, not medication, it's the expectation and the belief, I'm going to get better because I'm going to a physician or a nurse or whoever that is. It's the belief that you're going to get better, and that is why it's so powerful. And as a doctor, my job's to kind of get out of the way in some cases and really just inspire people, because a lot of folks come in and they've been told, or they have family members that have been told by their doctor, well, you have 6 months to live, right? Terminal illness, you have 6 months. First of all, how does that doctor know, right? We are not God. That is not our role. We don't really know. We're giving them based on theory and text. Now, if folks, and we have studies that support this, if people believe what their doctor says, I'm going to die within 6 months, they're probably going to die within 6 months. It's almost a given. Whereas if they say, F that, I'm living, they're going to live because they have a belief they're going to live. So the beliefs are the most important thing, the most powerful thing that we have, our beliefs and our identity, really.
So there's a psychology that interacts with the biology.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Words we use create biochemical reactions in our body. Thoughts we have do the same thing.
Yeah, let's make an example on that.
Yes, do,
like,
please.
You all remember when you were younger and in high school and you had a crush on that guy or that girl, and sometimes you oh my gosh, you see them in the hall or you think about them, and what happens to your stomach? You get little butterflies. Little butterflies. That's a really good illustration about how a thought has a chemical messenger that gets sent to your body and actually has a physiological response.
Or if I say, how you feeling today? And you say, I'm fine. Or I'm good. Well, how does that feel versus, I'm outstanding. I'm triumphant. I'm magnificent, right? Different language impacts us differently in how we feel. And so that's really the key a lot of times, is using transformational vocabulary to change our states, change how we feel about ourselves, because that impacts everything else. If I'm depressed, how am I breathing? Am I taking deep breaths? Am I taking shallow breaths? Are my shoulders back or are they curled forward? Is my voice high or is it low? Am I looking down or looking up, right? So language impacts biochemistry. You can't feel that way if you're moving your body. If you're exercising, you're getting chemicals released out of the brain, and you physically can't feel depressed because your body's in motion. Emotion is motion, basically.
I love that. That's so true. That's how you can change the environment in your body, is simply by changing that's one way, change language. So that's a really, really good example of that.
Language in your physiology, right?
Yeah.
And also the focus, what you focus on is what you feel.
I like that. Emotion is motion. Are you guys writing this down? Take notes. I'll write it down for you. No, that's really good. That's why when I asked how you were doing, you said that you were awesome.
Yep.
And I immediately noticed that your effervescent glow kicked up like 2 points.
Me too. I noticed it too. Yeah.
And it does. It just changes your state. Another example that I actually have lived personally was, and this, a lot of people talk about, they have so much anxiety. Okay. So I had a point in my life where I was going through some very, very stressful things, and I'd be driving my car and I'd start to feel this almost an anxiety attack coming on. It didn't ever turn into a complete panic attack, but one time I did go to the emergency room and it was anxiety. So I had this anxiety. So I started experimenting with my language a little bit. And as I would start to feel this shift in my body, which felt like I was getting anxious, I would say the word peace, tranquility, serenity, calm. And I'd be driving along, I'd be saying peace, calm, and my body would just go out of the anxiety mode. It would just immediately change.
Wow.
Those are some tools you can start using right now if you're feeling that way.
Yeah. You know, when I was growing up, my dad did something similar to that. And we used to think he was a little wacko, but I think it actually worked. So my dad was like an aircraft mechanic at Lockheed. Highly intellectual, but he knew how to fix. He could look at something and go, oh, I can fix that. I just do these things. But he would get caught up in some of the negative aspects of his life and this work thing that he was going through. So what he used to do every day, you know, he had one of those shirts with like a pocket protector, and he put little 3x5 cards in there. And I go, Dad, what are those things? And he goes, well, when I'm feeling sad or depressed or anxious and I just want to go the hell with everything, he says, I pull out one of these cards and I read it, and I focus on that one thing all day, or until I notice that what's going on in my brain just changes and I don't feel that way anymore. I find something to maybe distract me, or I get involved in a project that takes my mind away from myself, like worrying about me, and I'm doing something productive, and then I feel good that I've done something productive. He did that like forever. I mean, forever. And I tried doing that. I would always lose the 3x5 cards. So.
Right.
But I am a firm believer in mindset affects everything. It affects your health. It affects your wealth. I've been to a lot. I have friends that are mindset coaches, and I've seen them take people that are in that mode, kind of like what we were talking about. They're sad, depressed. Oh, that's for other people. That's not for me. I'm supposed to work this 9-to-5 job, and I'm just supposed to do these things and live by these rules and blah, blah, blah. And he says, you've been taught that since you were little kids.
Yep.
And he says, it takes about 30 days. We're going to retrain your brain so you have a positive mindset. And I've seen him take people from like despondent, boring jobs, and they've become incredibly wealthy simply by changing their mindset. And I believe that you can do the same thing with your body, with your health. I totally believe that.
Think and grow rich.
Yes.
Think and grow healthy. Think and etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, what you focus on, you feel for sure.
Yeah, so
Get
if you're
more of it.
feeling hopeful and you're full of love and gratitude, probably those things are going to, you're going to be attracted to those things.
Yeah, you're going to see them more in your life.
Yeah.
It's a skill. It's like a muscle. The more
And
you use it, the better.
You have to repeat it. It's
Right.
something
repetition.
that really can't, like if you tend to be a little morose, or you tend to be a little bit negative Nancy, or whatever you tend to be, it takes a little practice to change your state. And you can actually anchor that in. You can anchor states into your body. I'm just going to give you an example. I'm a certified neuro coach, and my trainer, I was telling her how much I get panicked when I'm public speaking. And so we got me in a really calm state and really feeling good. And then we anchored it in by me simply just putting my fingers together like this. And so sometimes even when I'm doing this podcast, I just put my fingers together like that, and I feel a sense of calm coming over my body, because that has been anchored in by neurocoaching. So you can actually anchor your own states in by bringing yourself all the way up into the state that you desire, and then right at almost the top of that state, you can set an anchor for yourself, and it can be whatever you want it to be. And every time you use that anchor, you can repeat that feeling that's in your body.
Yep. There's an expression, I can't remember it, but yeah, it's at the state, peak state, repeat, anchor, repeat, something like that. But that's it. And a lot of these associations happen when we're young, when we're kids. That's how our belief system starts to get formed. We start to associate things with things, whether they're positive or negative. But a lot of that comes in childhood. We look at our parents or whoever raised us as the model, and we sort of adopt their patterns initially because we're learning in the world. And then you realize maybe later in life, hey, that's not serving me anymore. It's actually associating with something I don't want. And so it's just having the knowledge that you can break those patterns. If you work with someone like Michele, she knows how to do that. She knows how to interrupt the pattern. That's usually the first step, right? Is interrupting it and then replacing it. But getting leverage on yourself is important. A lot of people just don't have enough reasons why they want to change. Yeah. So then it just persists.
Yep. And if you're somebody that, has used, affirmations or whatever, and you're like, it didn't work. It didn't work for me. One thing you have to understand is that what's programmed in you, he was talking about, it happens as a child. You have a certain brain theta that you're in when you're a child, theta brain waves, and that's how stuff gets put in you. And you have to understand that 95% of your operating status is unconscious. It's in your subconscious, and that's ruling you. But we are beautiful human beings, and we have what we call the prefrontal cortex, and we have the ability to get conscious, and we have the ability to decide what it is we want, like Justin alluded to at the beginning of this, and know what we want, and then we can find out if our operating programs that are running in our subconscious level are actually giving us what we want. And when they're not, we have the power to change it. And you just got to know how to do it. And and use repetition.
That's why you ask people, well, what do you want? And if you don't know what you want, what do you not want?
Yeah. Well, we want to get people focused on what they want. Because a lot of people come in and, I just want to feel normal. Really? That's pretty boring. What's normal? I want to feel healthy. Here's an apple. You're healthy. Yeah. What's that mean? For everyone, that's different. And the more specific, the better.
And I always ask, so if you were feeling normal, how would you be different? Then they can expound a little bit more on what that means to them. So, if you find yourself not being able to describe what you want, just say, well, I don't want this, I don't want that. And say, well, if I didn't have that, what would I have? Because it can turn it around into more of a positive statement. So, I don't want to be sick anymore. All right, if you weren't sick anymore, how would you be?
Yeah.
I don't want to have headaches anymore. And if you didn't have headaches anymore, what would that be like for you?
What's it look like? What's it feel like? How, can you taste it? Can you feel it? I mean, what's it tangible? So and when we're doing, guided meditation, when I do acupuncture, for example, I'll start to have people focus on what they want, what their outcome is. That's the whole thing, is get people into a state where they feel resourceful, they feel grateful, and they're focused on what they want, and then they'll get more of it. They'll unconsciously pull themselves to what they want. But if you don't know what you want, that's okay. Journal that. Write down what you don't want, and in that process, you'll figure out what you want. It's usually what happens.
I think that's important. So it seems like we get stuck in, I guess, what could be called a fear loop.
Fear, yep.
Fear loop, which means now we're stuck in survival mode. We're afraid. Now we're sending all these signals to the cells in our body. Our brain is reinforcing this negative stuff. And we're not going to heal.
Yeah, and if you study like cells, I like the book, The Biology of Belief. And he talks about looking at a cell through a microscope. One thing we all know is that cells move toward love, gratitude, and good nutrition. Like they come toward it. They will get away from toxins. And that includes toxic thoughts, toxic relationships, toxins, food, pollution, all of that kind of thing. Your cells know how to survive. That's what they're made for. And we are trillions of cells as human beings. And so in our systems, our cells are either moving toward something good or they're moving away from something. So we want to make sure we give them something good to move toward.
So have you guys heard someone, and I think you have, you mentioned this earlier, where someone will tell you, well, I think that's just the way it is. I'm just going to have to deal with it. My mom had this, my dad had this, my Uncle Bob had this. And it's just kind of the way it is. And I don't really know if you could do anything for me.
Learned helplessness.
What do we do? Yeah.
Western medicine promotes that.
Yeah.
Really?
It really, my experience is I went to when I got diagnosed with lupus, I specifically asked the doctor, what can I do? How can I get better? Well, take your medicine, manage it. But there's really nothing you can do. I mean, this is pretty genetic. But the truth is, it's just a small amount of genetics, because epigenetics tells us that our environment is king. It matters.
Yeah.
So we have to give it the right environment.
Yeah, your genes express based on your environment. So it's like that movie Big. If people remember that movie from a long time ago.
Yeah.
He's on the piano, and the piano's lighting up as he's stepping on it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your gene code all day, every day, based on what you eat, who you surround yourself with, what type of thoughts you're having. Genes turn on and off throughout the whole day. So if you drink, a fifth a day, you're gonna suppress the healthy genes. You're gonna promote the unhealthy genes. If you're a 2-pack-a-day smoker, you're gonna suppress the healthy genes and express the unhealthy. So your lifestyle is actively 10, maybe 20% at the most is our hardwiring. That's what we've been given from our parents. That's like the hardware we can't really change. But the good news is 80 or 90% is software. So we can change it. We just need tools sometimes to do that.
Yeah, for me, if I can share a personal experience, for me, the tool that I use is music.
Yep,
So
that's a great one.
there are times that I'm sitting at the desk. I've got all my computer stuff on. I'm doing all these things. I'm having a stressful day. Things are not going the way that I want them to go. And how I planned it, they should be going. Things are just not happening. And I could have the attitude, oh, well, hell with it. That's just the way it is. But I find when I feel that way, I literally stop what I'm doing. I don't take any phone calls. And I pick up my guitar, and I go in the other room, and I play guitar for like 10, 15 minutes. I come back. I've changed my mindset. My mood feels better. I think the
You broke your pattern.
Yeah.
You interrupted your pattern and you changed your state.
Yes.
Well done.
And I think that the vibrations from the guitar being tuned to 432, not A440. We can get into the music stuff, but that's a good vibratory state. And I just feel so much better. I feel like I'm clean. My brain fog is gone. And maybe somebody who doesn't have a musical experience, maybe they need to go paint a picture.
Or even listening to music.
Listening or getting up and moving your body to music.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can really, but I love what Justin just said. You did a state change. You interrupted your pattern. So whenever we're in a low mood or feeling hopeless or thinking that things are never going to get better, that's a low mood. That's a poor state. It's not resourceful, and you can interrupt it.
So that may be a way that we can rewire our brain for healing. And on that note, why don't we pick up that particular topic on part 2 of this exciting podcast? Should we do that?
You bet.
Absolutely.
But first, I want each of you to give your contact information, how people can get a hold of you if they would like to schedule an appointment. Justin?
Yeah, so our contact information should be below, but ElementalNaturalMedicine.com, that's our website. Our number should be down there too, 435-246-7642. ElementalNaturalMedicine.com, that's a good starting point.
And Michele?
Yeah, you can start with Elemental Natural Medicine, and you'll get to me too. But if you want to make an appointment directly with me, it's Michele with 1 L at K, the letter K, Michele with 1 L, Schroeder.com.
Perfect. All right, guys, this was great. Let's pick up part 2 of this exciting conversation. And in part 2, guys, we're going to learn how you can actually rewire your brain for healing. We'll be back with another exciting edition of The Wellness Warriors.
This has been Wellness Warriors, giving people the knowledge to have a healthy and vibrant life. For more information, ElementalNaturalMedicine.com and KMicheleSchroeder.com. We invite you to join us next time for another edition of Wellness Warriors.